Welcome to Death Row.
Like we always do about this time.
I'm gonna fight your fucking ass!
You don't got, you're playing touch butt with that dork in the park.
There's a little snake in the grass.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
No forget Jesus, people! I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody!
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I'm back.
Who the fuck is that guy? Break out the red panties. We're rich, baby.
I would like to introduce...
Welcome to the MMA for Money Show, episode 53. In this show, we will review UFC Vegas 8 Smith vs. Rakic and preview UFC Vegas 9 Overeem vs. Sakai. I am Bob Voss, your favorite garbage man at MMA State of Mind on Twitter, here with Mikey Gilman. You can find him at Mikey Gills on Twitter. That's Gills with a Z. Also follow the show on Twitter at MMA for Money Show. Mikey, how are you doing tonight?
Not bad, not bad. I got the Z at the end of my name because it's like a high school email, you know, it's just I'm never getting rid of it.
Hey, I got no issue with that. I still have mine hidden in the back somewhere. Pretty sure it's Dutch Mafia 16 at AOL.com. So, you know, feeling that. We're doing things a little bit different on this week's show. We're going to mix in some of the DraftKings that we've started doing the last few weeks, but still giving a lineup at the end after the show, after our betting recap. Don't worry for all of you Mike Copenhaver lovers. He's not gone. He is just simply busy. And it was kind of the perfect timing because we got Mikey Gills here, who's going to be a part of the show for DraftKings anyway, so he's able to fill in the times when one of us can't. So we have a solid show coming for you guys every single week. Well, the MMA for Money Show is here live if you are watching right now on Twitch, Periscope, and YouTube. After the fact, though, you can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast Podcasts, RSS feed. As I mentioned, we are live on Twitter, but also those videos live on Twitter after the fact in smaller tidbits so you can get individual fight breakdowns, reaction videos, little things like that. Please subscribe. You will never miss a show. Like, comment, and share to spread the word because you like us, others will like us. We just feel that deep down that you're going to like us. And if not, you know what? We'll go cry in a corner. And after we wipe away the tears, we'll just get right back at it. We're going to go right into UFC Vegas 8, Smith versus Rakic. Entertaining fight card in general, a decent amount of submissions, and a couple surprises and replacements as happens in COVID. I'm going to quick read some of the results, and then we're going to go back through any of the interesting ones. I'll get a little bit of reaction here from Mikey since he's here, and everyone's got their own reactions on this fight. So Sean Brady, the massive, biggest favorite on the card, got a round 2 guillotine choke and pretty much just pretty even on the feet, but he was landing harder. And then when he decided to, brought it to the ground and got the choke. Mikey, how did you feel about Sean Brady's performance? And I don't know, I guess we're putting Aguilera back in that bottle.
He got his neck put back in the bottle. But no, Brady, especially, you know, what I'm here to talk about with DraftKings, he was $9,100 last week. He paid off huge. So anybody that had him in his lineup, he was in my core. Fantastic night for him. Just what else can you say? Dominant.
Well, we had talked about both in the DraftKings segment and on the segment in the show with Mike that we all like Polyana Viana. We were a little wondering why she was a dog in this price at the plus money. Didn't think she would style on her quite this way. Obviously, she got put on her back early, and we were like, oh no, she's going to be held down. But after loosening things up with some elbows from bottom, got that first round armbar. You had said that you wanted her in your DraftKings lineup. I can only imagine that she paid off pretty big with this round 1 armbar.
Yeah, I think it was like 92 points. I think it was. She didn't land any strikes. It was the first round finish. What can you say? I mean, you always pick the girl who wins by submission against the girl who literally loses by submission every single time. No brainer.
No, that's a solid point. Going forward, for all of you, that is a solid rule to live by. Next up was this one was a little bit odd. The order here might be a little bit different because given how many changes happened to this next fight we're going to talk about, it changed said order. Alex Caceres, when we first were going to talk about the show, was going to fight against Chikadze. Kevin Kroom came in day of recording. Then he was gone and then replaced by Austin Springer. So then the final odds had Caceres at -185 against Springer. He got the round 1 rear naked choke after Springer went in for a ill-advised takedown that got stuffed real bad. Caceres scrambled to the back and got the quick choke. I know you had spoken about possibly putting Caceres in against Kevin Kroom. I don't know if that was still a fact against Austin Springer, but how'd that work out for you?
Oh, it was I kept him in just because they kept him at 7,400 points. So Caceres, I had him the whole week. I had him against Chikadze. I had him against Chikadze. I had him against Kroom, even though Kroom was such the greatest fighter of all time. But at $7,400, he cashed for 99 points of that. So again, anybody who put him in our lineup, that's what else do you want from that? Just Alex Caceres, 7,400. I'll take it.
And honestly, like I didn't see who he was fighting until like I'm not even sure how late into the day, so I wasn't gonna have any bet on that. But at the minus 185, I probably would throw a little bit on him straight there. It's like that's super last minute on a guy who missed weight against a veteran like Alex Caceres. It's like, and it's like we've talked about, that's just a normal thing. Usually when they just do last minute replacements, they stay the same DraftKings salaries.
Yeah. Yep. Once they put it up, because people, as soon as they put those salaries up, people are putting them in their lineups, so they're already submitted with money on them. So I guess they can't really change them,
Okay, that's fair. That makes sense. Because then they wouldn't have cancel out. Okay, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say Austin Springer. I don't even think his odds came up until maybe Friday they got on there. He came in, I think, at 7,200 for it. But I was on Alex Caceres for every opponent. If they would have thrown somebody else at him, like I know they're talking about Brock Lesnar going to Bellator. If that's where the fight took place, I'm still taking Alex Caceres at 7,400.
Honestly, it was literally the only reason that I knew that Austin Springer was in this fight, and I barely even knew who Austin Springer was. But in a weird serendipity that is social media, a guy that used to be a trainer for my in-laws who moved posted on his Instagram, because I happen to follow him for health reasons, posted that Austin Springer, who apparently he helps train sometimes, was in the UFC. And I'm like, how? And then he said, it was saying fighting Alex Caceres. I was like, oh. And then I quickly looked at the odds. The odds still weren't posted yet. And I'm like, this is a very weird situation that's never happened to me before.
Yeah, this COVID time with the UFC, man, this is crazy. You can't really trust anything. We have a situation. We'll get into it later tonight. There's a couple of fights on this card. The DraftKings site only has 8 fights up right now. So, I mean, the card we have right now is still subject to change, even though I like the lineup. But this COVID time in the UFC is crazy.
Oh, no. Honestly, like I think we've said on a past show before, at least I know I have, if you want to get in the UFC, get yourself to Vegas and stay somewhat near a weight you could fight at. Maybe not your natural weight, but a weight you could fight at, have clear medicals, have a valid COVID test, all of that awesome stuff. You're probably going to get a fight. They need to fill people in. They do not want these fights to go away. They contractually owe so many fights. It's just what they're going to do. Next up was an interesting fight, to say the least. It's really the tale of 2 fights. Actually, I'll put it this way. It's a mirror match. I guess that makes more sense for them. Okay, so Zach Cummings was a minus 105 at the time of recording the show against Alessio Di Chirico, which I want to check on my pronunciation of that, because they were calling him Chiricio or something like that. The entire broadcast is kind of bothering me, but whatever, I'm moving past that. So the very first round, it's about even. Okay, but Di Chirico is landing the harder shots, or I might have the 2 rounds mixed up. Either way, one of the rounds, first round or second round, it's basically the exact same. They're throwing the same amount. One of them is just throwing harder. And obviously when Cummings gets hits in the face, he doesn't even move. And Alessio definitely shows the power shots. Striking differentials fairly similar. And then in the third round, similar things happening. Di Chirico is definitely taking some harder shots, but he's definitely laying on more, and they're starting to become more and more aggressive. And then, so in my opinion, I had Di Chirico was going to win that fight. Like it was getting to that point, even though in the last 30 seconds, Cummings was starting to come on, land more, a little more aggression. And then I don't think I've ever seen such, because I watched this after the fact, and I knew there was a final second high kick from Cummings that laid Di Chirico on his butt. But I'm watching the time go, and he doesn't even seem in the position to be able to throw the kick. And I'm looking at the seconds. I'm like, okay, 5 seconds? No, he's way too close. He just threw a strike. There's no way he does. 4 seconds. Okay, he's starting to back up a little bit, but there's still nowhere near enough room. It's like in the literally last split second of the round, he cleared off just enough room to throw it up top, and it landed square on the jaw, and he found his butt. And then the worst part is, and the judges probably would have maybe forgotten that flash knockdown, go team, but gotten up, got on Bambi legs, went back down, got up, grabbed the fat. Like he was just nowhere in a good space. I didn't think it would be this close. I actually thought Di Chirico was I thought he should have been a bigger favorite. I thought he was going to get a very clear decision here. And with a final second high kick, Cummings pulls it off. I know you were sweating this one quite a bit with your DraftKings lineup. So your thoughts on Cummings versus DiCirico?
Well, for me personally, this is the DiCirico fight is it's a 2-part story. I'll start with our show's picks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we did pretty good for our show. We can get into a full thing about it later, but DiCirico not avoiding a literal last second head kick probably cost us a 5 times return on our investment. Now, granted, he's not the only guy on the card that didn't perform up to what we needed him to, but he is the only guy on our slate that lost. So if he would have got us 30 more points, I checked all the people that lasted above me, we would have had a 5-time return on our investment. If he would have just avoided that one last head kick, that's all it would have been. But more than that, personally, I texted you as it was happening. When that head kick landed, I had another card with 4 straight finishes prior to that. And when that head kick landed, it took me out of a pool. And I wouldn't have won it anyway because Ratchik would screw me over later. But I didn't know that was going to happen. This took me out of the running for a possible $50,000. I was at a fantasy draft at the time when this actually happened. I watched it on my phone. And I don't remember anything after the 8th round of that draft. I was sad for 3 straight hours. But yeah, so for our show's purposes, though, he is the only one who really let us down. We went for 5 of 6 on that card, and he only got us 26 points. We were 1 kick away from having 56 points and a lot more money. So that's my DiCirico stories.
I don't know. It's a rough one, man. It's like me and Mikey here were talking about before the show and why I've had a hot and cold relationship with DraftKings. I've played it a number of times in the past, but I usually play it for like 2 to 3 months and then don't play it for like well over a year. It's because what happens is I'm not good at multiple lineups. I have one of like, well, I think this guy's going to win. I don't understand making a secondary lineup and putting more money down initially when I think this guy's going to win. So I make my lineup and I usually go on a good run in multiple different things and make really good money for a short period of time. And then starts to catch up with you because it's MMA. Crazy stuff happens like this head kick at the end. I never made secondary lineups. So then that money starts to trickle away. And then once it trickles away enough, you're just like, no, I'm just going to cash out. That's otherwise I'm just throwing these like 16 parlays that if you know anything about those, not going to do too well. If anything, you should get a little bit more bonus because if they throw a lot of strikes in a loss, they could still get you a little something. Hannah Cypher's the straight MVP of the COVID pandemic UFC situation, fighting for the 4th time in a year, 3 of those being in Vegas during all this stuff. She lost tremendously to when we were Nigga round 2 to Molly Martin. But the reason it's so tremendous is because she actually came to fight, laid Martin down in the first round and just could not find the finish, chasing after her, getting on top of her, landing against the fence. And then kudos to Martin. She recovered in between rounds like crazy, and then a tired Cyphers from trying to finish just got taken down with ease in the 2nd round and got submitted. Thoughts on Hannah Cyphers, Miss Farmstrong losing it out late to Molly Martin?
So if I remember correctly, this was the first fight on the card, I think. And anytime that you're betting fights, we had Mallory Martin going for our show, and she's a huge favorite against Hannah Cyphers. We were cracking jokes about Hannah Cyphers on the show, like, oh, she can't win, haha. Comes right out there, just starts smoking or just a molly whopping going on in the first round. And, you know, luckily.
Or a Mallory whopping.
Ooh, that dynamite drop in money. It's not the best color man in the business for nothing, folks. But no, just luckily she survived it. She came back out. Round 2 came out and did her thing, cashed us out for 92 points. That turned out to be a good way to start the night, but that was that's a heart pump right there.
Oh, definitely. Next up was our first bet of the night for the show. We had Impa tried to listen to the broadcast so many times to get his name. I'm gonna go with King because I know it's his nickname. So King Impa, we'll go with that. For 1 unit for Smekky Patolo. He just hit harder with more veracity and was throwing in combination, and it counted and it landed harder, and Patolo was wearing it on his face early. There was a cut that happened and Impa looked phenomenal. Beyond impressed with him. He fought for our money and won the money, which is even more than you could ask for. So really high in Impa going forward. He has recently called out Marvin Vettori, which is a big jump up from Patolo, in my opinion. Honestly, but although Patolo, if he was just about anybody else, probably would have went down for some of those hard shots that he took. Dude is just young and tough. It hasn't quite had the wear and tear, but I don't know. Marvin Vettori is a guy I'm really, really high on in the middleweight division. So I'm hoping Impa gets a couple guys in between that point to just kind of like gradually get him there, but super impressed. Mikey, thoughts, Patolo, Impa, and the Impa performance?
Well, it's exactly like we talked about on the show with Impa. He's not always going to hunt for that finish, but he will fight for you hard. He gets stronger as the fight goes on. Seemingly, he won a decision for $8,500. He cashed us out for $7,250. It was one of the fighters on our card that we just kind of wanted a little bit more. I was hoping that he could maybe land a little bit more on him to score a little bit more. $7,250 out of Impa at $8,500. I'm not quite happy with that, but it's at the same time, it's not a loss. It's not anything like that. He did better than Rakic and DiChirico did, so I'll take it.
Next up, we had the fight everyone's been waiting for. They made it for the third time. No, Ankalaev and Cutelaba got canceled again. It's cursed. We're moving on. Even if it's on a fight card again, I refuse to break it down. I'm done. Cutelaba tests positive for COVID twice in two and a half weeks. I'm done. Moving on. Ricardo Lamas got a unanimous decision victory over Bill Algeo. And honestly, since he's kind of come out more on the fact that he might retire, he was on a Sirius radio with Jimmy Smith talking a little bit more on that. Like, that's the kind of fight he wants to leave on. Like, it was a great fight and he won it. It was a unanimous decision, and his boxing really came out towards the end, and he was dominant on top in the third. But I came away with this a little bit depressed. I've always loved Ricardo Lamas. I've said he's a local guy. Some mutual friends. He's Lamas of like 5 years ago just kills this kid, and it's not close, and it's not a fight of the night because it ends so fast. And just the fact that he's at this level now, it's like, I know I'm starting to getting to be that guy in a lot of these fights, because and we'll talk about it in a few, that all my favorite fighters are slowly aging out, and it's a rough time. All the fighters that I liked when I first got into MMA, and they were all new, and MMA are just slight veterans, and they're all just starting to fade away. But I do want Lamas to retire on this one. It is a fight of the night performance thing to coast out on. They have a UFC gym that's UFC gym Ricardo Lamas in the area, so it's like he has another way to make money built in already, not to mention anything else he's doing. I hope he walks away, but performance wise, great. Just if he's having those type of performances against Bill Algeo, I don't want to see him fight anyone in the top 10, really. Mikey, thought on this, what might be Ricardo Lamas's retirement fight?
I mean, if it is, it's like you said, if it is his retirement fight, it's a good one to go out on, look good in it. Well, not look, you know what I meant, but yeah. It's exactly like you said, old fighter, 38 years old. They did exactly what we were talking about. They're going to do on the show. They came in there. They met. The only thing that we didn't really get that we thought was going to happen was the finish. It was two finishers going in there, went to a decision. That might actually be the saddest part. He doesn't go to many decisions in his career. So if he's getting to that point where he's going to start decisioning the guys on the way up, we know it doesn't get better after that. You definitely don't want to see him hang around too long and become like a BJ Penn type where people just start making their name off of him constantly. So hats off to him.
Next up, a fight we all kind of went a certain way. Kim lost to Alexa Grasso. She's a huge favorite on the card. Actually, she got a little bit cheaper as the week went. I want to say by fight time she was down to -280, but when we did the show, -320. Gets the unanimous decision victory. I don't walk away thinking anything different than I did going into it. She's just exactly where I thought she was. Still like her striking, and I think she still has room to grow, but I don't even know who I would necessarily want to see her fight next. Mike, you got anything specific, or just we can pass this fight?
We have to pass this fight for me because I actually didn't see this. I was driving home when this one was on.
Hey, no judgment, and
yeah,
of the fights. And
I wish I had more to offer you on that one, but
no.
I don't want to act like I saw it when I didn't.
Hey, which is appreciative. Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, I honestly, on this show, I strive for us to be honest. That's why, like, if I don't know a fighter, I'll tell you I don't know a fighter, because I do as much research as I can. But with how many fighters there are, you can't hit everybody. And this fight was vanilla. So let's move on. Even though, I mean, the next fight wasn't too much better than vanilla, maybe French vanilla. So it's a little bit better. But Robbie Lawler in the co-main event. My guy, this was a second bet on the card, mainly because of the disrespect that we talked about with +210. And I still believe that, because there were glimpses of Robbie Lawler in there against Neil Magny, the -250. Neil Magny gets the unanimous decision victory. And honestly, in the beginning of the first and the second round, Robbie Lawler came out like he does. Not super aggressive, but like enough that he's throwing strikes, kind of backing you into a corner. And that's usually where he lays hands on you against the cage, like those huge overhands. It gets around your defense, lands big, gets a couple body shots to have you drop your hands, then goes over, slipping some of the shots in return. But Neil Magny was just one thing about Neil Magny, he just seems to be the most frustrating guy to fight because he's very clinical. He knows what will work and he'll do it even if he's getting landed on as it happens. And over the course, like those tiny decisions over the course of a fight add up to wins. Because there were spots in this fight that lesser men, oh man, Robbie Lawler just did that to me. Oh my goodness, he's going to beat me. No, Magny knows, okay, the very next thing I'm supposed to do in this exact situation is this. I'm going to do that. And then he just goes through his process and ends up pulling it out. I mean, Lawler had spots, but still, this is another one of those things that Lawler just, he went for the finish a few times, but it just didn't happen and the output wasn't quite there. And I had said he kind of needs to get the finish here. And I was actually really excited in the first about 30 to 45 seconds of the fight. He seemed to be doing what he needed to do to get those opportunities to land those shots. But Neil Magny was good enough to roll with them, get out and just sound defense and just put enough hands on Lawler over the course of the three to get the clear unanimous. I'm not calling this a robbery or anything. Like Neil Magny won this one. And Lawler, I mean, he at this point, I want them just to put, if he wants to still fight, which seems like he does, he sells a lot of the skill, maybe not some of the same killer instinct, but just put him in the fun fights, the name fights, not necessarily ones that have anything to do with the title, but like guys with names that'll be fun to watch. I'm still game for him still fighting, even though he's been in the UFC and MMA forever, but have him some fights, I guess. I don't even know. I guess I would ask you, how is this even as a DraftKings scoring situation? Because I know Magny put a decent amount of strikes on there, but not like crazy amount.
Yeah, no. If you're talking straight DraftKings, Magny cashed for 90 points, and he was only $8,600. So 90 points for that, I'll take it. It was just such a dominant decision. He was scoring with takedowns, scoring with advancing position. He didn't land as many strikes as I wanted to, but if you're talking about Robbie Lawler's health, that's probably good. My brother and I were actually texting during this fight, and we were joking about how last week we were talking about they used to train together at Hit Squad, and this kind of resembled what I almost imagine it must have been like growing up under Matt Hughes at a camp, where he must have just held you down the whole time, just big brother and just not really anything that you could do. But the one things that I took from it is, Robbie Lawler is not that guy who's going to finish you in the first round anymore. He came out throwing, but he hasn't finished anybody since 2015 in the first round. And what I did like, though, is that in the third round at the end, he was still out there trying to take his head off. He was still swinging. He just couldn't get it done anymore. Magny's bigger, longer, faster. So what do you, 90 points out of him, 8,600. I'll take that. I'm a little sad right now just trying to talk about Lawler on the downslope because he's everybody's favorite fighter. But I'll still, if you put him in there against anybody, if we're going to talk about like Lamas, Bill Algeo, if he wants to fight those guys, take a few of those out before he goes, I'm with it. Don't hang him up yet.
Absolutely. I think he still has some gas in the tank, which sounds crazy considering he's about in the fight game for 20 years now, but I'd still pay to watch him. He's one of the few fighters I can still say that for. The main event, at least on my end, I'm not going to. Oh, and with that bet, we were even for the night. We won our first one, lost our second one for the unit. So break even, plus minus zero. So rather have that than a losing night. Obviously, would rather have a winning night, but I'll take breaking even opposed to a loss. In the main event for me, I don't have too much to say about it. Anthony Smith lost to Alexander Rakic. I mean, everyone assumed he was going to win. I thought he was going to win. I mean, I thought with all the damage Smith took that Rakic was going to put him out of there. I really did think that, but showed that he's more than just a powerful striker. Took Smith down, controlled the majority of the fight. I mean, celebrating at the end because it was a smart win. It absolutely was a smart win. It's a name win. He needs some of those, but everyone was hoping for a little bit more, me included, and I know you were. So how do you feel about this main?
This fight was so frustrating to watch. When we were breaking it down, what did we talk about? We said Rakic was going to come out there. He was going to attack that wide base stance with leg kicks. What does he do? He comes right out there, starts firing leg kicks at him one after another. I'm on my couch like, yes, let's go. Just cash it out. Cash it. We needed this money. I told you I was watching the live DraftKings thing, and we were just I'm watching like the points add up. I'm like, all right, we're gonna end up here. He's gonna finish this guy for sure. I'm looking at 90 extra points on my head and a lot of extra money. But no, he knocks him down, he takes him out, takes him to the ground, knocks him down with leg kicks, and then lays on him in the rest of the round, doesn't really throw much strikes. I mean, it looked like at some points he was gonna get submitted like 5 different times. I'm texting people, losing my mind while I'm watching this. It was so frustrating. Comes out the second round, does the same thing. Kicks him. He gets tagged. I think it was the second round when he got tagged really hard on the jaw. He wanted nothing else to do with the stand-up. He comes out there, does it again, takes him right back down, sits on top of him. Third round's a repeat of that. He only, for $8,700, I need more. If you're going to have a dominant decision victory, for $8,700, I need more than 68 points. That's just not going to get it done. I'll make fun of DiCirico all I want, but what really kind of messed me up is having a dominant fighter being dominant but not doing anything with it. So Rakic, a little frustrating, wanted a lot more out of it, and $8,700, 68 points is a disappointment. Sorry, just the way it is.
Hey, that's all good. I guess probably should have. I assume you do, but I guess I should have prompted this one. What was the total points for the lineup you gave?
All in all, the lineup wasn't that bad. We cashed 5 of the 6 fights were wins, and the only loss we had was the DiCirico fight, which until the Sugar Ray album 1459 mark, he came out there and got head kicked, and we lost a bunch of money on that. If he would have just gotten 30 more points, I checked all the scores above us in the pool that we were playing in, we would have got 5 times our money back on that. So it's super frustrating, but guys like Rakic didn't score, DiCirico didn't score, but 5 out of 6 isn't bad. And if you would have played that same lineup in a different pool, because that's not the only lineup that I had, that's not the only pool that I had that lineup in. That lineup definitely made its money back. And if you're playing against your friends, for sure you took their money. If you're even playing in a small, 20 to 30 person pool, good chance you made out with a lot of money on that. That was a great lineup, except for just the one pool that we were in. Because I could come on here and just tell you the overalls, like, oh, if I had this playing in 5, it cashed out. But I'm trying to be honest, the one pool that we specified that it was going to play in, we finished 14th out of 100, and we just missed it by 10 points overall from making 5 times our money. Hurts a little bit, but still a good lineup. You still would have been good if you played it, I think, in almost every other one. So
right, well, there you go. Well, how many total points for
400? Oh, sorry, 448.
See, there you go. The only reason that I want the specific points is because that's one aspect of DraftKings I'm well aware of, because I've known where my totals have been. And yes, if you're anytime I would do it, I would be in under 20 person typically, and anytime I broke 350, you're pretty much guaranteed top 3. So in most of the pools you guys are in, you're hitting tops on that, and we're just trying to give you the best to go for the bigger ones, but you could take one of these and go into any one of the small ones or a bunch of them and at least make your money back. And the goal is to at least make your money back always for everything. So net positive we'll go with. We're going to jump directly into UFC Vegas 9. Obviously this is going to be a little bit different. Like we have said, we are going to, I will do a breakdown. Well, some of these will be quick picks, as always. I will do a breakdown. Mikey will do a breakdown, and then he'll also go into a little bit of the DraftKings on each one. We do have 2 bets for this fight card, one a little bit earlier on and one a little bit later on, but nice little spread out. Sorry for the first fight on the card, at least how they have it listed now. Brian Kelleher was supposed to fight Ricky Simon, or Simone, or Hickey, whatever we're doing. And that would have been a fantastic fight, but that's not the fight that's happening. He's a minus 225 favorite against Kevin Natividad. Got it. Natividad fights at Arizona Combat Sports, which has such luminaries as Estevan Payan and Clifford Starks and other luminary. If you can't tell, I'm being a little bit facetious. He isn't at the best camp, and late notice against Brian Kelleher, who is, I just think he's going to put him out. I really do. I think he has just an edge a little bit everywhere, in experience in striking, in wrestling, in just his grappling in general. So I'm just quick pick Brian Kelleher, and I don't see how I could do this as a bet given his price. Mikey.
All right, so coming off what you just said, Brian Kelleher, 34, he's 21-11, 8 knockouts, 9 submissions. This guy is just a true finisher. He's coming off a loss against Cody Stamann earlier this year. And if you remember, that was the fight that Cody Stamann, he had lost his brother earlier that week. So it's kind of tough. Even if you're Brian Kelleher, you're in a real tough spot with that fight. Even if you win, you kind of lose. But when he lost, he actually really lost that one pretty bad. He's 2-3 in his last 5. He's definitely the more experienced fighter out of these two. But you were talking about Kevin Feliz and the camp he fights at. A lot of people, I'm sorry, not that was a joke I had written in my head. He's not Vidad. Not Vidad, 27 years old, 9-1, 5 knockouts and 1 sub. Now, on the surface, that sounds great. But if you're like me, you've never heard of him, you probably want to do a little bit of a deeper dive. And what I found was not good. I'm going to read you the records of some of the opponents that he's fought in his 10 career fights. 10-8 was his last opponent. Not bad, right? 10-6 before that. All right, that's not too bad. But then before that, 2-2, 9-8, 0-2. And guess what? For his next 5, the first 5 of his career, doesn't get any better. In fact, the only thing that I could find on this guy that was even something relative or worthy of mentioning was that he has a win against Erwin Rivera, who fought not on the last card, the one before that, maybe. Yeah, but
2 ago, I believe.
2 ago, there we go. Yeah, and he won that one by majority decision. Wasn't anything crazy. The one loss he has in his career is he ran right into a left hand, literally sprinted across. It was a 9-second fight. He ran across the cage and just ran right into a guy's left hand, knocked out. Kelleher should roll on this guy. There's no prices on these guys for DraftKings yet, but when Kelleher comes available, if he's anything close to a good price, he's going to be in my core lineup.
Next up, we have Cole Smith. He's plus 175 versus Hunter Azur, minus 210. Hunter Azur, his claim to fame, and my opinion, I'm just full disclosure, I'm picking him in this fight. No bet, but picking him. He lost to Brian Kelleher with a left hook and finishing, I believe, a hammer fist in the second round. But in my opinion, was winning the fight up until then, and actually had a great showing himself as a win over Brett Katona, which a lot of people are fairly high on. Cole Smith, his biggest claim to fame is that he beat the corpse of Mitch Gagnon, or Gagnon, I always pronounce his name wrong, who had a close fight with Barao back when Barao may or may not have still been good. I've been impressed, Hunter Azur, with his level of competition, how well he's done, and I'm just quick pick on him here. Mikey.
Yeah, Hunter Azur, 8-1, 3 knockouts, 1 submission. Won his first career 8 fights, like you said, in May of this year. He was TKO'd by Brian Kelleher, a real bad knockout. He's 1-1 in the UFC after the Dana White Contender Series. He's given up a few inches, but he's like the physically bigger fighter. He's like a really strong guy. One thing I was really impressed when I looked him up was he's a 4-time state wrestling champion in Montana. Now, I know Montana is not the most populous state, but being a 4-time state champion in wrestling in anywhere is pretty impressive. And that should help when he goes against Cole Smith, 31 years old, 7-1, 2 knockouts, 3 subs. Started off his career with 7 straight wins. Lost his last fight 11 months ago to Miles Johns. He's 1-1 in the UFC. When these two guys go together, I don't know that Cole Smith has a great real path to victory here, but if it is, I think it's just going to be using his physical size to maybe try to tire out Azur. We've seen him gas out before in fights, but for, let's see here, $9,100 is Hunter Azur's price on this. I do expect him to win, but that is with the cardio issues he's shown in the past, I'm not willing to pay $9,100 for him. He's not going to be in a ton of my lineups. Cole Smith at $7,100, real big underdog. I just don't think he's got a real path to victory here. So Azur KO'd 3 months ago. You're never really sure how he's going to come back from that. It's kind of a stay away from me for everything unless you have the money for Azur. But I think there's better people on this card at that price.
Next up, we have odds that do not make sense to me, and judging by our conversation earlier, do not make sense to you. So Marcos Rogério de Lima is minus 105. The should be light heavyweight, maybe even middleweight, but light heavyweight who doesn't like to get in shape, so he's a heavyweight, but hasn't done very well at heavyweight and lost to really anyone with a notable, somewhat kind of name at heavyweight, anyone with a decent skill set, especially if they have submission offense at light heavyweight. Ovince Prue being one of them, Nikita Krylov being one of them, and Dukolov being one of them, and he even got submitted by Stefan Struve in 2019. Yes, Stefan Struve in 2019. He's fighting this guy, this newcomer, Alexander Romanov, who starting to look into this fight card was actually, you brought him up in a message to me, and I started looking into his videos then, and then had heard from Real Mike this morning that he wanted this to be his bet. This guy's at minus 115. You gotta love anybody whose base is sumo. Like, I think you don't see him very often, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Like, this is a big jump right now, but I'm gonna say this guy's the best guy to come out of Moldova to fight in the UFC. I'm sorry, Ion Kutalaba, but I think this guy's it. Nickname King Kong. He is undefeated. He is pushing the heavyweight limit at 6'2". They don't list his reach, and he isn't like the most chiseled physique, but he straight comes at guys and will get you in a choke. He will beat you to submission. Like, he's coming at you a lot. Anyone that has wins via slam, I'm all for. And I do not think that Pizao, there you go, can take that kind of heat coming at him even early. I think he has just about every advantage here, power, ground, like literally everything other than maybe reach, because I know that De Lima is a bit long, but he doesn't use his length. So minus 115 for me is an absolute steal, and Mike from the show. We need, again, find more delineations in between the two of you, because especially when only one of you is here, it's going to be confusing talking about the other one. And on top of everything, I'm also talking into a mic. But this is our first bet of the night at the -1. Actually, it's minus 120 now, so we'll give you those odds at minus 120. So 1.2 units to win the 1 unit. Mikey, your new favorite fighter. How you liking him?
All right, so I was texting you. You could probably still feel the excitement in my voice when I was texting you. And I started watching videos on Alexander Romanov the other day. I have not been this excited for a heavyweight prospect in a long time. Like, the Romanov dynasty, it is beginning this week. And the Romanov dynasty, seriously, the headquarters of the capital city is Suplex City. This dude, Brock Lesnar's people for real. Giant heavyweight men. He picks them up like Alexander Karelin used to do and just throws them completely over his head, spiking them down like Kevin Randleman did to Fedor. He's fantastic. He's a grappler first. He's a big dude, like you said. Super agile for a guy his size too. And I have never seen top control from a guy at heavyweight, maybe since active top control rather, since Cain Velasquez. As busy as he gets when he gets on top of you, he just does not stop. He's going for submissions. He is punching you nonstop. He does not give guys a chance to breathe. And when he's on top of you, he is a mountain. He's huge, 265 pounds, 6'2". So that's not that's not Stefan Struve. That weight isn't stretched out. That is all centered around his body. He Donkey Kong punches people. His highlight reel is the most fun thing that you will watch this year. Project Power on Netflix was pretty cool. I'll give it that. But not as cool as Romanov's highlight reel. Go on YouTube. I beg you to watch it. And he's fighting Rogerio de Lima, 4-4 in his last 8. Has not won 2 straight since 2014. He did win his last fight, but like you said, it's even funny when you were reading your notes. I had mine. I specified the 2019 version of Stefan Struve that he lost to. If you lost to the 2019 version of Stefan Struve, I'm not picking you, especially against this guy. Alexander Romanov is in my core lineup. 11-0, 11 finishes, 5 KOs, 6 subs, $8,400. Give me him all day long. Southpaw fighter, loves to throw kicks too when he's standing. Could not be more excited for this right now. And big, huge heavyweight fighting a guy who used a natural 205er. Let's go all day long. For Rogerio de Lima, $7,800 on DraftKings. Total stay away from me. I don't really see too much of a path to victory for him. Give me Romanov at 8,400.
Next one, I'm going to kind of skim over. No offense to the fighters in here. Montana De La Rosa is plus 115 versus Viviana Araujo, minus 175. De La Rosa coming off that night where her and her husband both fought and he got brutally destroyed, and she pulled off a win, but still not high on either side of that marriage there. Viviana Araujo has actually impressed me quite a bit more in a weird way. I don't like to give too much credit to people that lose to Jessica Ai. I mean, because it's Jessica Ai. But I mean, in terms of, I guess, a benchmark in the division, there it is. But it was a close decision that she lost. Jessica Ai had beaten Alexis Davis previously, so a decent name in the division. But I just think she's the more skilled of the two. Outside of that, it's pretty much where my pick goes on Araujo. No bet. Mikey, DraftKings perspective or just a straight pick?
DraftKings perspective for sure. I have Araujo, $8,900, huge price tag. But I think she's worth it. She's coming off a loss, but before that, it won 5 straight. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on the feet. I think she has the advantage too. Talked about the Jessica Ai loss, but I mean, she's 2-1 since coming into the UFC. I think she'll be able to get the win here. Better striking, more powerful, more capable of pulling off a submission. Good at scrambles, good at getting off her back. For $8,900, I like Araujo. Yeah, I have her listed in my core lineup, but I was thinking about something just before we went on. I'm going to keep her in our core lineup. We're going to play with her. That did not sound right. I'm sorry. We're going to play her. Sorry. We're going to play her this week. As far as De La Rosa goes, it's pretty much everything you just said. Her only loss since joining the UFC was to KGB Lee, and that's not too bad, but she doesn't have any power. She's never KO'd anybody. 11-5, 8 submissions, 3 decisions. $7,300. I don't really think she has much, but it's so cheap, and she does have a lot of submissions. I could see putting her in some lineups just in case. But Araujo, $8,900 here. She's going to be in our core lineup. She's going to be in the show's lineup tonight.
Next up, one of my favorite Polish fighters, actually, Bartosz Fabinski is minus 145 versus Andrzej Muniz plus 125. One interesting note about Fabinski, other than his huge layoff after 2015 for like 3 years. He was one of the fighters that was supposed to fight in the March card that got canceled because of the pandemic and the lockdowns of borders. And they actually let him take a Cage Warriors fight against another UFC fighter as opposed to having to try to make it up back in the States. So he fought Darren Stewart in a Cage Warriors fight. I mean, that he won, but it's super interesting. I've liked Fabinski for a while, been very impressed by him. I think he has way more output and finishing ability here. I'm actually a little surprised that he's minus 145 given his going to like other sports terminology, his strength of schedule. Like I would think he'd be much higher here. So I don't know what the issue is here against Andre Muniz. So a quick pick here is just Fabinski. I don't have a bet on it because like just with how close it is to even money, I'm almost getting nervous that something's off that I don't know. Although if he gets too close to even money, I might have to throw something on there just because I think these odds are a bit ridiculous in my opinion. Mikey, thoughts on Fabinski versus Muniz?
Man, this is a tough pick for me from a DraftKings perspective here. Fabinski, he's a very, busy fighter once he gets on top. I was looking at the point totals in his last couple of fights, his last couple of wins rather, is 121, 99, and 101. So when he does take you down, which is his path to victory, he's going to stay busy enough to score you those points. Like you said, he's 4-1 in his last 5, but of his 3 career losses, 2 of them are by submission, which is going to be a problem when you're fighting a guy like Muniz because 12 of his 19 victories in his career are by submission. So $7,600, that could play big. And Fabinski is much more expensive at 86. It's kind of a question of what you think is going to happen in this fight. Do you think that Fabinski can stay on top of him for 15 minutes and not get submitted? Or do you think he can stay on top of him and stay busy? Because I don't think there's a way to do both of those against a guy who's going to be throwing up submissions the whole time. I originally had Fabinski in our lineup for this card, but I'm thinking about taking him out of there. I have like 2 different options. We'll go over it at the end, but they both have a route. They both have a route to score points here. They both can. Muniz could be a great underdog play for the straight pick. I'm going to pick Fabinski, but when we talk about our underdogs, Muniz is going to be one of the top ones.
Okay. Next up, a fight that I'm a little lukewarm on, only because, like I was telling Mikey before the show, a lot of people that I respect are on Turner, and I actually do like Turner here. He's currently plus 155. Sorry, I should actually say the fighters and their odds first. Be professional. Thiago Moises is minus 175 against Jalen Turner plus 155. So we're past that part. Jalen Turner, I haven't been overly impressed with him, like enough that I do think these odds are a bit high on him. Although I'm not sure if that's the cause or the fact that I have never been high on Moises. He has been a fighter in the past that, trying to think of a good example here. I mean, he beat 2020 Michael Johnson. Like he has just the right mixture of names and dates. And this makes more sense in a second. With his wins and losses that really throw you. So if you would just look blindly at his record and see some people he's beaten and some people he's lost, like he beat Kurt Holloway. Kurt Holloway's pretty good. Okay. I've seen Kurt Holloway fight. He beat Michael Johnson. Okay, well he beat Michael Johnson. Okay, that's good. Michael Johnson was a good lightweight. When did he fight him? Like 2015, 2014, 2020. Lost to Neil Darius, but who doesn't? I don't know. I've never been overly high of him. I've been a little bit higher on Jalen Turner. I think he is such a tall, long, lightweight, 6'3", 75-inch reach. He's still young. He is getting better. He's training his striking at Ruka with, I believe Cyborg is still over there. I mean, BJ Penn, I guess that's not helping out too much, but great striking and boxing coming out of there, which he could really use. I guess the worst thing about him is just his defense isn't 100% up to par always, but in terms of striking, but I don't know. So I'm going to go just pick. I'm going to go with Turner. But as you can tell, I'm kind of torn here. So don't take this as gospel. Mikey, Jalen Turner as the big underdog versus Thiago Moises.
Yeah, we have a running theme, it seems, last couple of weeks on this show, and it's called disrespect. And when it comes to these odds and the odds and the DraftKings prices, that's what I'm seeing right now. Jalen Turner coming off for $7,200. This could turn out to be a bigger gift than the Alex Caceres one last week. You look at Jalen Turner, 9-5, 8 knockouts, 1 submission. Whew, that's a high finishing rate for $7,200. Talking about a Bellator veteran, 3-2 in his last 5. You talked about the tough fight that Moises had when he entered the UFC against Beneil Dariush. His first fight in the UFC was Vicente Luque. So the UFC basically took both of these guys, gave him a pat on the ass, like, go get him, kid. But, I think you can throw both of those losses out for each guy. I mean, what do you expect? But I love Jalen Turner, all the things I've seen. He's incredibly athletic, great kicks, mixes them into the body, goes to the head a lot. He's going to have 6 inches of height and 7 inches of reach to go with it. I looked up the stats. He lands twice as many significant strikes per minute that Moises does. He's never been submitted, which is probably Moises' biggest path to victory. Although, to be fair, Jalen Turner's never really fought a submission artist like Moises. But, to win this fight, he basically has to be a better version of Michael Johnson. He has to go in there. He has to light this dude up on the feet and just not get caught in any stupid Imanari roll like leg locks, really. But, I mean, he's fighting a guy like Thiago Moises, 13-4, 3 KOs, 5 subs for $9,000. That's heavy. One thing about Moises, though, is one of the reasons I'm picking against him is because I've been onto this guy for years. The reason is I used to train at Conquest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Maryland, and that's where the former LFA lightweight champion Rob Watley fought. So I saw these guys. I've been watching Moises fight since 2017, and the same things that I saw against Watley and LFA are the same things I'm still seeing today. The guy, not the most technical striker, throws pretty slow stuff, just allows themselves to get bullied around the cage by better strikers. When I'm watching the Watley one, he blanked him 50-45, and a lot of that fight was Moises backing up and just kind of getting punched. Other than that, he was getting pushed against the cage, wasn't going for anything crazy. He's tough. He's never been finished. Michael Johnson threw basically everything that he could possibly throw at him. He likes to counter on the feet, throws a lot of head kicks, but I don't think that's going to help a guy when you're fighting a guy who's 6 inches taller and 7 inches of reach. So for me, $9,000 is a really high price for somebody that I think is just going to get kind of tagged on the outside. So for me, I'm all day. I'm picking him for the straight win and on DraftKings, Jalen Turner, $7,200. Thiago Moises, if you can afford him on a card that you're happy with, a couple underdogs, maybe give him a shot, but he's not going to be on any of mine.
Next up is the next bet we have on this card. And normally when I have a bet on a fight, I'm going to give you a very detailed breakdown. But every once in a while, there is just a straight, simple matchup. And this is one of those fights. Michel Pereira. Yeah, that crazy dude. He is -115 versus Alim Amadeov, -105. So the only way that these odds make any sense to me is the fact that they're afraid that Pereira is either going to gas himself out doing something crazy or he's going to get something stopped from an illegal strike, which is also something crazy. And obviously those things can happen. But this Alim Amadeov, he comes in for the finish in the first round. He doesn't have much of a gas tank either. He goes for broke early. He throws wild punches. He will come straight. He's coming with power. This is the perfect kind of guy for Pereira to fight to style on and absolutely put just some crazy spinning switch roundhouse question mark kick across Zalim's face. And then that's all she wrote. It's just like, here's a silver platter and it's there. You could tell the UFC want to get this guy another highlight reel just by going by the past of these two fighters. And here it is. These odds make no sense to me. -115 is an absolute steal. It should at least be -150 or higher unless you're just absolutely scared of what might happen, which apparently the odds makers are. But you know what? At this point, I am not. I think this is going to be an easy fight for him. This may blow up in my face, or it's going to blow up in Zalim's, which is, I think, what's going to happen. So it's to win 1 unit, the -115, so it's 1.15 units to win the 1 unit, and that's our second bet for the card. Mikey, I can only imagine that Pereira is just, you're salivating on him for DraftKings. Break it down for me.
So, yeah, banger alert all day right here. Pereira, 23-11, 10 KOs, 6 subs, going off for $8,200 in this fight. I love it. Like, a guy that's going to come out there and he's going to throw some like weird like Matrix stuff. Like anytime Pereira fights, it makes me think of that movie Never Back Down. Remember that scene where the guy's doing all like the crazy weird stuff and then he gets knocked out? No, this is the revenge of that guy. This is that guy coming into the UFC. This is his tour. He's coming back for it. He's it's technically he's lost 2 in a row, but he was fighting Diego Sanchez last when he lost that fight, air quotes, to Diego Sanchez. I pulled up my tweet from when it happened. I actually said Diego Sanchez is a veteran in all caps, because if you watch that fight, he wasn't hurt, but he knew he was going to lose the fight, so he just cashed out for the other half of his paycheck. Can't lie, kind of respect that. But going against Amadiev, like you said, lost his last 2 fights, coming off a knockout loss in November. Tough guy, going to come right at you, going to come out swinging. An X factor for me is that he's kind of nuts, apparently. I hear stories of him, like from Max Griffin, where he's chasing guys around the hotel cafeteria. It's like trying to fight people, to the point where Max Griffin actually had to have a police escort like all morning, the whole morning of the fight. Which, dude, if you make a UFC fighter get a police escort throughout the hotel, you do have my respect, just in the sense that you might do anything. He might punch him during the stare down. We might have like a Heath Herring in Japan incident. I don't know, but no, I like that kind of, like, it's like, if you're going to be that guy who's just going to come forward against Pereira, who's a much more technical striker, I think, even when he's if he can tone down his wildness and just kind of be a little more technical, just be a little less dumb with the crazy stuff, he should roll easily here for $8,200. Core lineup guy. I actually have it written down. He's a prime candidate for core, but sometimes he's just too dumb. But tonight, with the card right now, $8,200, we're going to take that. But with that being said, Amadiev's a finisher. $8,000. He is going to come out there. He is going to come out swinging for it. It's MMA. Anything can happen. He could be a prime candidate. $8,000. He's got 8 wins, 8 knockouts. You know what he's coming out there to do. Anything can happen. Both of these guys could be in play on different cards, but definitely rolling with Pereira.
So we're going to be a little weird for the next 2 fights, at least for me. So this next one, I'm basically not going to break down. Sijara Eubanks versus Karol Rosa, mainly from the fact that it's going to be a split decision either way. This is prime candidate for that type of a fight, and I always undervalue Eubanks. Just always do. So I'm not trusting even my own breakdown on this one, because I'm leaning towards Rosa, but it's going to be a close decision. But I know I undervalue Eubanks always, so I will pick Rosa, but I'm not going to try to go into it too much. I don't want to sway anybody, because I just there's certain fighters I call their fights wrong, and I own up to it, and I'll always say, I preface the breakdown by it, and Eubanks is one of those fighters. So I'm just going to take a big step back and give this one to Mikey, as much as he does or does not want to break this one down.
I'll tell you what, I'll do an abridged version of what I got here. Picking Karol Rosa overall. She's at $8,500, 13 and 3 in her career, 4 KOs, 2 submissions. The reason I'm picking her at $8,500 in this fight is pretty simple. Her last 2 fights, she's combined for 228 points. She's a very busy fighter. She's twice as busy in the cage as Eubanks is. And I just personally, when I watch tape on these two, I think Karol Rosa has an easy path to victory here. She's going to be a core lineup player for us. I think she'll be able to avoid all those takedowns, outpace Eubanks, maybe put her away late when she fades. But, the volume is so good, I can't say no to that at 85. Eubanks, for me, at 7,700. She's a stay away. I'm not going to have her in any of my lineups, but Rosa tonight is going to be in our lineup.
In the co-main event, obviously it's where this is the co-main event, Ovince St. Preux plus 110 versus Alonzo Menefield minus 130. Does that sound familiar? That's right, because they already booked this fight. This is another one of the light heavyweight fights. Yes, light heavyweight. Ovince St. Preux back down at light heavyweight. That was going to be booked 2 weeks ago, and OSP popped on weigh-in day for COVID. So this is another light heavyweight fight that's happening that way. If you really, really want my thoughts on this one, go to the show 2 weeks ago and listen to it. I'm not going to give a full breakdown, because I still feel exactly the same way, other than the fact that I'm not betting Menefield anymore. But that's because with all of these, someone tests positive and then comes back inside of 2 weeks, the double weight cut, there's just a lot more X factors that I don't necessarily know how to gauge. And I was trying to do that with the Q level fight last time, and that one got canceled too. So for all I know, this is going to get canceled as well. I'm still picking Menefield, but I'm not going to bet it like I was going to last time, even though I do think he's going to put hands on OSP. And I guess the double weight cut could probably even add to that, the fact that he's coming down from heavyweight for this. So picking Menefield, do think he gets the finish. I used to have a bet on this fight, but now that it's on a new fight card, I don't. I would assume, given the finishing rate of both these guys, that the DraftKings salaries are pretty decent. Where are you for this co-main event?
Well, the DraftKings salaries, this is one of the 2 fights on the card that doesn't have a DraftKings salary yet, so we're going to have to revisit this later. It doesn't matter, because I wasn't planning on playing either of these two, especially Ovince St. Preux. He's 37 years old. He was losing decisions to Volkan Ozdemir before it was cool.
And OSP fights are weird.
They are weird. You never know
weird.
what you never know what he could do. The fight could he could be losing the whole fight and then pull something cool out. He could be on his back foot the entire fight. You just don't know what you're going to get from him. I think we kind of talked about the pop quiz popcorn last week. That might be him this week. But Alonzo Manifield, like you said, 32 years old, Bellator, LFA vet, 2-1 in the UFC. Let's see. All of his fights have been finishes, so that's something to go for. But again, I don't know what to expect from OSP in this fight, so I don't know if I can trust him on here. I would love to break it down further as far as relation to the DraftKings, but I don't know the prices for it yet. So stay on Twitter. We'll update you from our account as when the DraftKings sites updates. But if I had to pick a straight pick right now, it would be Manifield. But I'm not betting it obviously because I can't yet.
Going forward, we did that this last time. Keep an eye out on the main Twitter account because obviously DraftKings, even more so than just betting with fights getting broken off. Like if we have one of the fights in the lineup, or if Mikey has one of the fights in our lineup and one of those gets canceled for any reason, weight or cancellation, it's like we'll have something in there to get refilled. So that might get retweeted day of, hopefully giving you enough time to fix. Obviously, since you're not worried about numbers and odds changing like you are with betting, it's not as like, oh no, I need to put it in right now. You can wait till it's closer to make sure you get the appropriate lineup and not have to spam to try to fix it. Now we're going to move on to the main event, which it's interesting and I'm confused by it, but I refuse to bet it for 3 reasons, and I'll get to each one of those. It's Alistair Overeem -145 versus Augusto Sakai +125. First reason I'm not going to bet it. I try to avoid betting main events because you just put a lot of undue feeling and emotion into it, and you have a tendency to over-exaggerate one aspect of it. And then part of that too, and Mike has said this before, that if like one of your bets is on the main event, you just end the night on a sour note if you lose. It's really like that. Number 2. So you're telling me that Augusto Sakai, the guy who, okay, for those of you watching live, you'll see this, but those that are listening later, I'm about to do the parentheses with my fingers. Augusto Sakai got a decision win over Andrei Arlovski. Split decision win that I don't think I know a single person that actually scored it for him. Like he seems to go to split. He won a split to Ivanov. That one I actually did go for Sakai. He finished a faded Tybura, who everyone thought was going to be good, and then had a rush of losses. He finished Chase Sherman. Congratulations. Everyone finishes Chase Sherman. He has a record that seems so much better than it is. I mean, honestly, his best, and it's not even a victory, it's a loss. His best career anything, in my opinion, is the split decision loss to Cheick Kongo in Bellator. Because to me, Cheick Kongo is a hard out. And if you can get it close enough against him to even get a possibility of a win there, you are, I'm not gonna say an elite heavyweight, but you're probably good enough to be in the UFC. There you go. Alistair Overeem is just by far a better striker, has underrated ground game, great takedown defense. He's become a savvy veteran that knows how to protect his chin, control his output over the course of a 5-round fight. I mean, and he's done it. I mean, people are going to go talk about the Rosenstrike finish. He was winning that fight clearly. He got a hard shot, landed in the last couple seconds of the fight, and stumbled back, and then tried to stand and stumbled. That's really what happened. But he won the fight regardless of that. Could that happen here? I guess I don't give Sakai that type of one. Like, I'm not gonna say Sakai has Rosenstrike power because he doesn't. I'm so confused by the odds. But again, that's secondary thing why I can't bet this fight is the Overeem chin. It's like it's not what it once was. He's better at moving with shots. He's better at blocking them, parrying, staying on the outside. All these great things. But I can't see it. If this is one of the ones that gets close to even, I don't want to be tricked to bet an Overeem fight again and get pissed. And the third thing is Sakai. I don't think he's very good, and I've thought that since he fought Andrei Arlovski, and he hasn't proven to me that he is since then. So I don't know if I'm overly weighing that opinion on him for this matchup, or I'm overrating Overeem, which I tend to do. He is one of my more favorite fighters, so that withstanding. But I'm picking Overeem. I think he should cruise. And honestly, I think he could get a finish on a tired Sakai late. So I'm picking Overeem. I have no bet on this whatsoever. Mikey, DraftKings, and then if you want to, because we could do the bet review after that. If you want to go right after that, because you can go straight into the lineup that you're thinking of for this fight card before we do.
Yeah, sure, that works. Right off the bat, let's talk about Augustus Sakai. 29 years old, 15-1, 11 knockouts. He does come in for the finish, which against Overeem, we all know he could. You touch Overeem's chin. I mean, my God, like my joke about Overeem is that he's direct TV. Alistair Overeem is direct TV. He'll give you every movie package that you want. He'll give you, all the sports channels, whatever you want. But when that storm comes, lights out. You don't get anything from him. So that's what can you bet on when you bet on Overeem? Is what I'm not going to say tonight because we're going to bet on him. At least on DraftKings we are. Remember earlier in the show when I said that we're going to put Fabinski in, but we're going to put somebody else in later. That somebody else is going to be Alistair Overeem tonight. 24 knockouts, 17 submissions in his career. One of the reasons that we talked about it is what you just said when Sakai fought Czech Congo and Bellator, where Czech Congo just kind of held on to him a little bit. I think a lot of this fight is going to be grappling. A lot of it's going to be Alistair Overeem trying to avoid damage, trying not to let his chin get touched. I think he's going to control a lot of this fight. And for $8,800, this new version of Alistair Overeem that fights later on in his career, he's a huge scorer on DraftKings. When he wins his last 3 victories, 128 points, 114, and 106. I can't say no to those numbers, even if like the chance that his chin could get touched. I think he has a better chance to beat Sakai than Fabinski does against Muniz. So when I'm going for those two around that same price, I have to trust Alistair Overeem just a little bit more.
Well, and he has a better chance for a finish as well, especially if it is like controlling the clinch or something like that, knees up the middle, everything like that. Like he has a higher possibility of getting a finish over the course of 5 rounds.
Oh yeah, for sure. And what's funny about that is when Sakai tries to get close to him, Sakai likes to throw those knees too, but you don't play that game. They changed K1 rules to make Overeem stop doing that to people. Like,
and even without the juice in the knees, they still it was pretty hard.
Well, I think Overeem looks like he weighs about the same as he did when he was on the juice, just not quite the same, not quite the good weight.
The distribute, it's a math problem, and the distribution, and that you had to round the dividend, and now it's just not in the same.
Yeah, we'll say he Romanoved his weight a little bit. Just a little bit. I wish I looked like that. So we're all good. But you wanted to talk about just go straight into DraftKings. That's why I am picking Alistair Overeem right there at $8,800. Sakai $7,400. Look, it's Overeem's chin. He could be a great play for you if you want to throw him in over some of the other dogs that I have. I can list them out in order real quick. The dogs that I have: Jalen Turner, I think he's going to win. Muniz is my second dog. Sakai is my third, because all of those guys have a pretty clear path to victory. So after you get done with your core guys for our lineups, which are going to be Carol Rosa at $8,500, King Kong Romanov $8,400, Araujo, however you want to pronounce it, $8,900, and then Pereira at $82. You can fit all those guys with a Jalen Turner in there. I'll read off our exact one in a second. So Romanov, Rosa, Araujo, Reem, Pereira, and Turner. That'll leave you with a couple $100 that you can play with. And I love this lineup as far as finishing ability for Romanov, Reem, Pereira, and Turner. Araujo can finish her, and then Rosa is going to add up with her volume. I think this is a great card to play. And like I said, core lineups, you got Rosa, Romanov, Araujo, and Pereira.
Nice. And we will make sure that if anything changes with that, like we said, with any type of cancellations or some changing, or if some new numbers come out, we will shoot that right out to you guys. So that's part of the reason we bring it up at the beginning, to make sure you follow the Twitter accounts, because we want to give you guys all of the information. So make sure to follow them. As a quick betting recap of what we have for this card, we have the Romanov to win 1 unit. He's currently minus 120, so that's different from my notes, but minus 120. I'll have that written down. We'll also blast those out on Twitter as well. And we have Michelle Pereira, or Michelle, I'll get that right at some point, at minus 115 to win 1 unit as well. So that's 2 bets each to win 1 unit. Now we will be back next week to preview Santos versus Teixeira and I'll touch a little bit on Bellator 245 because it's Machida versus Davis 2, and it's actually a halfway decent card, similar to what we did to the Bader one. It'll just be a couple fights off the top in case something looks good to us. But do not forget to subscribe to us on your platform of choice: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast Podcasts, RSS feed. Remember to subscribe on YouTube if you're watching us live on YouTube right now. Hi, why aren't you subscribed? Shouldn't you subscribe? Like, if you're watching us right now live on YouTube, if you subscribe on there, we're trying to get those numbers up, please, so we could share all that stuff out. Like, comment, share, please. We're trying to spread the word. We're trying to grow reviews on iTunes. We will do our best to try to come up with some type of compensation for that. No, I'm not going to mail you money, but maybe a shout out, especially if you do a review and leave your Twitter handle in there. We'll shout you guys out big on across all of our platforms. And with that, let's roll.